They'd met as teens, but were in it for the long haul.
Hey, miss, do you need some help?
They were together for a long time.
They were building a life together.
They had their children, the picket fence, that fairy tale life.
Until a brutal attack tore it all apart.
She's got a stab wound to the middle chest.
She had scratches. She had bruises.
Stay ready.
It was quite a struggle.
The investigation suggests a love triangle gone wrong.
Do you think she's dating anybody else?
It's possible.
There have been rumors.
But is it her longtime boyfriend?
There was some jealous anger there.
Things have not been great between them.
Was it the new man in her life?
He recently got out of jail.
They were together that day.
She told him that she was done.
Or was it even more complicated than detectives imagined?
DNA was found under her fingernails.
Someone they never heard of.
I'm trying to give you an opportunity to explain.
What are you doing?
June 11th, 2016. It's a few hours before sunrise in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a blue-collar city of 600,000.
It was a manufacturing city for many, many years. A lot of breweries and a lot of factories.
It's sort of a small Chicago. It grew out of German and Polish roots.
After the war, a lot of African Americans came here looking for better opportunities.
But like a lot of the Rust Belt, those opportunities eventually faded.
Once the manufacturing left, many people who had skills could not find work.
Crime was and continues to be a problem in the city of Milwaukee.
Our homicides have increased, our shootings have increased, stabbings. It actually got the nickname Killwaukee.
And just after 4 o'clock that morning, the city's reputation hits too close to home for Antonio Sharp.
Stay ready.
Antonio calls 911 and reports that his friend, Danielle, has been stabbed.
It's bad, real bad.
Antonio was panicked. He is, at that moment, trying to prevent her from bleeding out.
Put pressure on that. I don't know. Dig.
It was a pretty bad scene right from the get-go.
Tom, come on.
We're using the towel to try to stop the bleeding from the chest.
Stay with me, D. Put pressure on that. Stay with me.
They just try to do whatever they can to keep her alive.
But time is running out.
She's lost a tremendous amount of blood.
Please hurry. Please.
26-year-old Alexandria Danielle Taylor lived every day to the fullest.
She was a fun-loving person who loved life.
She had amazing friends, very full life.
But it hadn't always been easy.
Danielle's teenage years were full of drama.
Danielle had a rebellious streak. She got into it with her mom often.
She was in and out of the house. Unfortunately, she was couch surfing.
It was while she was between places that the teen met Rick Ramsey.
Danielle was about 15 when she met Rick.
Hey, miss.
He was about 19 at the time.
You need some help?
And he'd experienced hardship in his youth as well.
His parents were addicts, and he had been in foster care.
Yeah, I'm all right.
Are you sure? You shouldn't be out here so late.
I don't have anywhere to go tonight.
Rick offered her a place to crash.
To Danielle, his chivalry was attractive.
They formed a relationship, and eventually they become an official couple. She was enamored by the fact that he was more mature than she was.
It's typically appealing for young girls to date older men because of their status and because of how mature they are and the stability that they might have.
And a steady relationship with Danielle was equally good for Rick.
Danielle encouraged him to get off the streets and find a job.
She was probably a little more mature than most of the girls her age.
And with Danielle's encouragement, Rick put his days on the streets behind him.
They also started a family.
In 2008, they welcomed their first daughter. And then 6 years later, they had another child.
And by 2016, it looked as if this young couple had built a beautiful life together.
They had been together for 11 years.
They really felt like they had it all.
There is a lot of love there. They were hoping that they would have an opportunity to grow old together.
But now those hopes appear to be in mortal danger.
Her friend Antonio calls 911 and reports that she has been stabbed.
There's blood everywhere.
It's a chaotic scene. Someone is literally dying while you're awaiting what seems like a very long time for the police to arrive.
When first responders arrive, they find Antonio and his sister still holding pressure to Danielle's wound.
They're desperately trying to save her.
As first responders take over, an officer arranges for Antonio and his sister to be transported down to the station.
That way they can get their formal statement on what exactly happened.
Because the police are now investigating a homicide.
After a few moments of trying to revive Danielle, the EMTs pronounced her dead at the scene.
The young lady happened to be past medical attention.
But as first responders exit to make way for detectives, a car comes barreling down the street.
This car comes to a quick screech and stop.
Whoa, 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 whoa. She's not supposed to be here. Hey, where's Danielle? Where is she? Hey, where is she?
He's trying his best to barge his way past the cops.
He's crossing the do not cross tape line, running through towards the residence where the victim is still lying.
The man is Danielle's boyfriend, Rick Ramsey.
He is belligerent, he's upset, he's not responding to officers' commands to calm down, to stay out of the crime scene.
The officer has to physically restrain him.
And he says that she is not supposed to be here.
She's not supposed to be here.
26-year-old Danielle Taylor was happily raising 2 daughters with her longtime boyfriend, Rick Ramsey.
They had been together for 11 years and had a happy home, the picket fence, that fairy tale life.
But now, EMTs have just pronounced Danielle dead inside her friend Antonio Sharp's home.
Soon after, a car screeches up to the scene. Danielle's boyfriend, Rick, jumps out of the car and crosses the crime scene tape.
Where's Danielle? Hold on. Where is she?
The officer has to physically restrain him from continuing to try to push by.
Where's Danielle?
But Rick is still screaming, yelling, refusing to calm down.
Eventually, Rick is placed under arrest for disorderly conduct.
Go ahead and get him down to the station.
I figured the best thing to do was take him into custody, get him in the car, and get him away from the scene to get things calmed down.
I need to see my girl.
While Rick is taken to the station, detectives turn their attention to the crime scene.
Outside of the house, there are 2 large pools of blood, but no distinct trail that would lead the police to believe whatever happened to her likely happened at the house.
Near the blood pools, they see a single earring, as well as a woman's wig and a wallet. The wallet contains Danielle's ID and her credit cards.
Not far away, detectives find a broken blade from a knife.
On the knife, there is inscribed stainless and china, which leads the police to believe that it is part of a kitchen set.
Then the detectives head inside the home.
The victim is on the living room floor. She's got a stab wound to the middle chest. She's got a stab wound to her left temple.
Since the killer left Danielle's wallet on the ground outside, detectives suspect they're dealing with a crime of passion.
This wasn't just someone stabbing her, taking her purse, and running away. This was somebody who took some time to inflict some pain.
She had scratches. She had a black eye. She had bruises up and down her body.
She has a tear to her earlobe, like an earring was torn from it.
Looking at all of the circumstances, it was an emotional, violent altercation that occurred.
Hoping someone may have witnessed the struggle, detectives begin knocking on neighbors' doors.
It's still before dawn, and most people say they were asleep. They didn't hear or see anything. But there is one woman who said that she left her bedroom window open and said that she was awakened by an argument.
She could hear an altercation that was clearly between a man and a woman.
I tried to ignore it.
But then she heard a woman scream.
At that point, that she got out of bed and she went to go look at her window to see what was going on.
But when she did that, she didn't see anything.
She waited for a moment, but she didn't hear anything else.
So she ignored it and went back to sleep.
But while she didn't see the fight that preceded the stabbing, there may still be a witness.
She has a Ring doorbell camera. It's right across the street, so there's a lot of potential for evidence off of that.
Man, would you mind if we got a copy of the footage from your doorbell camera?
Of course. Can I email it to you?
Yeah. You have a good morning.
Thank you.
After speaking with the neighbor, detectives return to the station.
They need to get statements from Danielle's friend Antonio, his sister, and Danielle's boyfriend, Rick.
The detectives start with Rick.
He's calmer than he was at the scene, but he is very emotional.
I know y'all got a lot of questions for me, but I got some questions too. I don't know what happened. My girl didn't like tell me nothing. As soon as I got to the scene, I freaked out. Okay. I just want to know what happened.
Rick is saying, I was just with her at 3 a.m.
That's just an hour before Antonio's 911 call.
I met her at the gas station on Atkinson and Keith.
Rick admits that things had been rocky between him and Danielle, so she had recently moved out.
According to Rick, it was only temporary.
She said she needed some space to get away from me for a while.
But he says that when they met up at the gas station earlier that morning, they'd gotten into a fight.
According to Rick, they got into an argument over money.
If you was to give my phone and get her phone, you would see it in all the safes.
He says she drained his bank account a few days ago.
How much money was that about?
It was about $600.
And that was like paycheck money?
Yeah, that's my paycheck money.
He was very upset. He wanted to talk to her and get his money back.
She know we got bills to pay.
According to Rick, that's why he'd asked her to meet him at the gas station.
But he said when she did, they soon fell into an argument.
It was like a heated moment because we were both trying to explain ourselves.
He was a little intoxicated. And according to Rick, when Danielle got there, he could tell that Danielle was a little intoxicated too.
I took her purse from her because she still had a bottle of liquor in her purse. I'm like, man, put this down. You don't need this.
This gets Danielle very angry.
Hey, it's fine.
And according to Rick, their heated argument had turned violent.
That was when she snagged me.
Detectives investigating Danielle Taylor's murder have learned that barely an hour before someone stabbed her to death, she had gotten into an explosive argument with her boyfriend, Rick Ramsey.
Rick says he was trying to wrestle Danielle's purse away from her to keep her from drinking anymore.
They get into a struggle and shouting match in front of the gas station.
He says she gave him a black eye.
Hey, it's fine.
Rick managed to keep the purse and take it to his car.
And Danielle stormed off.
He followed her and was able to catch up with her.
Come here.
What do you think you're doing? Here.
It's at this point that Danielle tries fighting him again. So they get into another altercation.
She had grabbed my face, boom. And then when she grabbed it, she pulled two of my dreads out.
He said he tried to defend himself, but she scratches his arm.
And he says that while they were fighting, a police car pulled up next to them.
They was coming east, and then they like, yeah, they put the little sirens on.
They came up and sort of broke it up.
What the hell's going on? No problem, officer.
I wasn't afraid to talk to officers. I didn't know. I know I didn't do nothing wrong.
Break it up and go home.
The policeman suggests that they both go their separate ways and call it a day.
And as far as the patrol officer was concerned, that's what happened with Rick and Danielle.
She walked that way, and I walked towards my car.
But Rick admits that after the police pulled off, he tried to follow Danielle.
I tried to hit the blocks to see if I can see her.
Rick did not want to let it go. He wanted to talk out this issue with Danielle.
But Rick says that after circling the area a couple times, he was unable to find her.
I didn't know where she went. So I said, it. And I went home.
Only he didn't stay there long.
I went upstairs to my room. I looked in my room, looked at my bed empty. I'm like, I get in my car.
He decides he's going to go over to his sister's house.
And once he got there, he was greeted with horrific news.
His sister allegedly gets a call saying that Danielle has gotten into some sort of trouble and she has been stabbed.
I'm like, she can't be gone because I was just with her, like, we was just talking.
Rick says that as soon as he heard that Danielle had been stabbed, he'd raced to Antonio's house.
I made all types of illegal turns into red lights just to get there.
He says he had no idea what happened to Danielle after she left the gas station.
But is he telling the truth?
Rick admitted that he went looking for Danielle after their argument.
And he went out of his way to explain his injuries. So could the altercation outside the gas station be a cover story?
You guys have had fights before? We haven't had a fight in God knows how long. I say over a year and a half. Oh, really? So it's dangerous, that's true. Yeah.
And now detectives want to know, if Rick didn't kill Danielle, who did?
Do you think she's dating anybody else or seeing anybody else on the side?
It's possible.
There have been rumors spreading around that she was, in fact, in another relationship. She was cheating.
And Rick admits that was another reason he'd asked Danielle to meet him at the gas station early that morning.
Or I was trying to get something out of her, too, at the same time, which was the truth.
Right.
One of the motives for him going to see her was to see if there was any truth to these rumors.
And he wanted information as to what the status of their relationship was going to be.
She basically has left him. He does not want her to leave.
But according to Rick, that doesn't mean he had a motive for murder.
I know y'all trying to figure out if I killed my girl or not. But I did not kill my girl, man.
Despite Rick's protests of innocence, detectives decide to hold him in custody.
He's booked on disorderly conduct charges.
They take his clothes to see if there is any DNA evidence on his clothes that would connect him to the murder of Danielle Taylor.
Then the detectives move on to Danielle's friend, Antonio Sharp.
They want to get him into the interrogation room to get a formal statement from him.
He was the first individual to see her after the altercation.
Also, detectives suspect Antonio may be more than just Danielle's friend.
According to Rick, there had been rumors that Danielle had been hooking up with someone else.
Detectives wonder if he had found out that she left to meet with Rick.
And if so, had that made him angry?
When detectives sit down with Antonio, he doesn't appear angry.
He was obviously distraught and upset over the incident.
Can't believe this happened.
He says he wants to do whatever he can to find out who killed Danielle.
Okay, so how long have you known Danielle?
I've known her forever.
Antonio was a childhood friend of Miss Taylor.
So you're just friends?
Well,
He admits that he's always had feelings for Danielle.
But he says that over the years, they'd lost touch.
He recently got out of jail himself on a burglary charge.
I looked her up when I got out, but she was with somebody else.
Even though he's never met Rick, he knows that he's Danielle's long-term boyfriend. And he knows that they have 2 kids together.
But that hadn't stopped the old friends from reconnecting.
They were just friendly at first, but then he learned that she too had feelings for him.
I thought you knew.
Well, I know now.
And that's when their relationship turned sexual.
Were you worried that Rick would find out? I was.
But according to Antonio, Danielle wasn't.
She told him that she was done with Rick.
She just wanted to get out.
Antonio Sharp, the man who called 911 and reported that Danielle Taylor had been stabbed, says the 26-year-old mother of 2 had been planning to leave her boyfriend, Rick Ramsey.
Antonio tells detectives that Danielle wanted to leave Rick for good.
What about Rick?
Antonio supposedly knows this because she had been dating him behind Rick's back.
However, Antonio claims that he wasn't the only reason Danielle wanted to leave Rick.
Antonio says that Rick beat her up regularly.
You ever see him hit her? No, but that's what she said.
He said she kept complaining about Rick and the violence that was in the home.
Antonio claims that there have been times she has had bruises and marks.
So she'd left Rick and was staying with Antonio and his sister.
Antonio had been staying with his sister since he'd been released from jail.
But as detectives know, leaving an abusive relationship can be really scary.
Is that what happened in Danielle's case?
If he had found out that she was trying to move on, it would have pushed him over the edge.
Hoping to learn more, detectives ask Antonio to walk them through the events leading up to Danielle's murder.
He's saying that they were together that day.
They had a few friends over and had been drinking out on the porch.
Antonio says that once the party wound down at around 10 o'clock, he'd gone inside.
He ends up falling asleep on a couch.
Danielle woke him up sometime later.
Hey, Antonio.
What?
I'm about to go out for a little bit. Let me pick that up.
Okay.
Antonio says he fell back to sleep and didn't wake up until about 4 a.m.
He hears a knock at the door.
When he opened it, he was shocked to see Danielle standing there.
Danielle! Oh my God!
Her wig's gone and her face was splattered with blood.
She falls in his arms. He lays her down.
Hey, what happened?
That's when he noticed the stab above her chest.
Who did this to you?
He kept trying to ask who did this, but by this time, she was unresponsive.
Antonio says that by then, his sister had come into the room.
Get my phone, go get my phone. Then come on, say something.
He begins calling 911. He runs and gets a towel to try to stop the bleeding from the chest.
Here, put pressure on it. Hello, it's bad. It's real bad.
And then the police finally arrive.
On the surface, Antonio's story sounds genuine.
Antonio is crying and obviously in great distress.
Or could they be tears of guilt?
Detectives wonder if he had found out that she left to meet with Rick.
Maybe he was waiting up for her when she got back and a confrontation ensued.
To see if they can verify Antonio's story, the detectives turn to his sister.
She confirms that she, Antonio, and Danielle had been drinking on the porch.
And she says that when she went to bed around 11, her brother was asleep on the couch.
Did you see or hear Danielle leave?
No. Next thing I heard was Antonio screaming downstairs, so I ran down there to see what was going on.
And when she got downstairs, Danielle was already collapsed on the floor, bleeding.
Did Danielle ever tell you that Rick was abusing her?
No, but I knew he was.
She has had bruises and marks. It was hard not to notice.
And she swears that her brother could not have been the source of those bruises.
She says right off the bat, my brother had nothing to do with this murder. And there's no way with how much he cared about Danielle that he would have ever hurt her.
But while she was happy for her brother, she worried what Rick would do if he found out about Antonio's relationship with Danielle.
She thinks Rick found out about the new relationship from a mutual friend and wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to do something about it.
That's all we have for now. Appreciate you coming in.
Had Rick found out? And had he done something about it? Detectives suspect the truth lies in the surveillance video.
Hey, come take a look at this.
In addition to the neighbor's doorbell cam, the detectives also requested security footage from the gas station, where Danielle met with Rick.
Reviewing the footage appears to confirm Rick's story.
He was at that gas station where he did say that he met up with her before the homicide happened.
In the footage, it's clear the two are in a heated argument.
There's even footage of the police officer coming past and sending them in their separate directions.
After the officer leaves, they see that Rick follows Danielle and goes in the same direction. So far, it all fits with what Rick had told them.
According to Rick, he couldn't find Danielle, so he gave up and went home.
But when they review the doorbell camera footage from Danielle's neighbor, it tells a different story.
On the video, the detectives see Danielle walk up the street towards the house.
And not 1 minute after, we see a figure follow behind her.
Someone who detectives are pretty sure is Rick Ramsey.
That's what's called damning evidence.
Rick, what are you doing?
When questioned about the murder of his girlfriend, Danielle Taylor, Rick Ramsey has admitted that he had an altercation with the 26-year-old mother of two less than an hour before she was fatally stabbed.
The police had broken up the fight, and Rick said he went home afterwards.
But when they pull up the footage from the neighbor's house, it's obvious that he had been lying.
The video shows Danielle walking up to her friend Antonio's home. But it also reveals that someone is following her.
Someone who detectives are pretty sure is Rick Ramsey.
He has one hand behind his back, which leads police to suspect that he might be carrying something.
On the sidewalk in front of the house, Danielle and Rick have a brief confrontation.
Then they both disappear out of view.
Then, a few minutes later, Rick comes back into view.
Rick is walking away from the house and is no longer carrying anything.
After watching the video, detectives bring Rick back to the interrogation room.
At first, he sticks to his original story.
Everything that I'm seeing right now is what happened.
But then the detectives tell Rick that they have video that shows him following Danielle to Antonio's house.
How do you explain that? How do we explain video?
I don't know.
They do what we call a coming to Jesus moment.
It has little effect on Rick.
I really don't know where else to go on. You don't remember it? It's your story, and it's yours. You can stick with it.
Then they haul Rick back to his cell. But after another 24 hours behind bars, Rick's story starts to change.
He's brought back into an interview room yet again.
He says, you know what? It is possible that I found her and that we did have another argument. I can't remember much because, remember, I was drunk.
Something come over me, like something get into me, and I'm like did I black out and do something?
You begin to think about the consequences of your behaviors, and you begin to try to develop some rationalizations.
Did the devil come into me and start controlling me like that for real? And then took it out of my head. I want it to be found, man. I want it to be found. I feel a lot better when it's found.
I guarantee it.
I feel a lot better when it's found.
As he's confronted with the counters to his lies, you're going to see acceptance.
My brain has been rattling, man. It's been rattling. Because my girl gone, man. And she not coming back. And I want her to rest in peace. I want her family to have peace.
Now that they can finally get some of these things that they're holding in off of their chest, you almost become that priest that you come and make a confession to.
I gotta get it out. I gotta get it out. Jim. I killed my girl, Jim.
I know.
I killed my girl, man. I killed my girl.
I know.
He did say, I killed her, and then he finally got into the description of how it happened.
He admits that he did, in fact, follow her.
He ends up finding Miss Taylor at the residence where this happened.
Rick says he parked down the street.
Then, he says he began searching through Danielle's purse.
Remember, he kept the purse after the police made them go in their separate directions.
He was looking for the knife he knew Danielle always carried with her for protection.
This was a kitchen knife.
He decides to take it with him when he goes to confront her.
Rick, what are you doing?
Is this where he lives? Oh, you lie to me?
At some point, he says he grabbed her arm.
What happens next?
Then she swung at me. That's when I stabbed her.
He said the anger wasn't so much of her cheating, the anger was of her not providing him with the truth. There's still some struggle. He said arms are flaring around and all that. And then that's when he does the second stab.
Do you remember the knife breaking?
And he claims not to know what he did with the handle of the knife either.
Somewhere, different world.
Even after the stab, all he can remember is not being remorseful, but being angry.
After it, I remember being in the car.
Coupled with the video evidence, Rick's confession is all that the police need to secure a conviction.
Mr. Ramsey was charged with the reckless homicide of his girlfriend.
But Rick decides to retain a lawyer. And the lawyer immediately comes in with questions about this alleged confession.
These interrogation tactics are empirically known to be very effective at getting confessions, but they're also known to get false confessions.
And when detectives get the DNA results back from the crime lab, it appears that Rick's attorney may have a point.
A man's DNA was found under Danielle's fingernails, but it is not the DNA of Rick Ramsey.
It's also not a match for Danielle's lover, Antonio Sharp.
Which means that there is a possible third suspect out there.
With a taped confession and surveillance footage that appears to show him at the scene of the crime, police and prosecutors are confident that 30-year-old Rick Ramsey is responsible for Danielle Taylor's murder.
That would be consistent with what the evidence shows.
They believe that this is an open and shut case.
Until the DNA test results turn the entire case on its head.
The evidence found under Danielle's fingernails does not match Rick Ramsey. And it doesn't match Antonio Sharp.
The results match for a third man, someone they never heard of.
His name is Kenneth Arnold.
It just so happened that he was incarcerated on another charge.
So detectives are able to bring him in for questioning.
We want to show you some pictures of some people that you might know. Okay?
Sure, go ahead.
They start off by showing him Danielle's photo, but Kenneth insists that he's never seen her before.
Never ever seen her.
Never.
The detectives know that's a lie.
Here, we found evidence of your DNA. We're trying to give you an opportunity to explain because there might be a reasonable explanation.
Nonetheless, Kenneth insists that he has no idea how his DNA got there.
Your skin underneath her fingernails, like if she would scratch you.
That seems to ring a bell for Kenneth.
I've been having sex with girls around here.
Kenneth is known to be a little bit of a player.
It's kind of crazy. There's been a lot of sex partners.
Like a lot is like 5? 10?
Probably like 30.
30?
Yeah, 30 different women.
He says it is entirely possible that Danielle was one of them.
Question is, had he done more than sleep with her?
Did you kill this woman?
No.
Did you stab her?
No.
Despite the presence of his DNA, detectives think he's telling the truth.
They have no other evidence. There's no other motive or direct connection to Kenneth.
And he doesn't appear on any of the surveillance videos.
But the fact that it's Kenneth's DNA under Danielle's fingernails does put the prosecutors in an awkward position. One the defense will no doubt try to exploit.
The obvious argument is if he was the murderer and they engaged in a struggle, the victim may have clawed at her assailant and got his DNA under her fingernails.
When Rick goes on trial for murder in September of 2022, the prosecutors begin by focusing on his motive.
He found out that she's cheating on him.
And on the night of the murder, he confronted her about it.
Is this where he lives? Ooh. Don't lie to me.
He couldn't let her go.
He stabs her in the chest.
It was an emotional, violent altercation.
He stabbed her again, above her left temple.
And the prosecutors claim to have plenty of proof.
They presented the evidence of the fight earlier that day, which clearly occurred.
They show the surveillance video.
Most of all, they have Rick's confession. But when it's the defense's turn, they do their best to cast doubt on that confession.
During the interview, law enforcement repeatedly tell him that they have a video of him committing the murder. That was a lie. Law enforcement did not have a clear video of anything. The next line of attack for the defense was to get an expert witness to talk about false confessions. We did have our expert witness talk about techniques employed by law enforcement, sleep deprivation, lying about certain evidence they have, and pushing an individual towards the narrative that law enforcement is trying to get from that interview.
But that's all just the lead up to the defense's main point, that Danielle had Kenneth Arnold's DNA under her fingernails when she died.
He told police he didn't know the victim and then said, well, I may have slept with her, but I didn't know who she was. And nothing was followed up about that.
But the jury, with all the evidence, and especially the security footage, they just aren't buying it.
They find Rick guilty of murder.
He's sentenced to 30 years in prison.
If he completes his 30 years, he's still going to have another 12 years of probation, which means once he's out, he's still going to be monitored for 12 years.
Justice has been served. But that does little to lessen the tragedy of Danielle's death.
Because not only was there one life taken, there were more lives ruined from this particular instance.
Her daughters, obviously, they lost their mother, but they've lost their dad, who, whether he's a good man or not, they obviously love.
Danielle will never get to see her daughters grow up. They'll never get to experience those important moments with their mother.
This is a absolutely tragic murder of an absolutely innocent individual who didn't obviously in any manner deserve her final outcome.
She wasn't a sit down and shut up type of girl. And that's what he wanted her to be.
He had this smirk on his face, like, I'm getting ready to take you for a ride.
It tells you how much of a monster he really is.
He did it all for every bit of revenge that he had towards her.
On the afternoon of July 25th, 2012, police in St. Petersburg, Florida, receive an emergency call from a distraught mother, Leah Martin. She says her pregnant 17-year-old daughter, Morgan Martin, is missing. She explains she last saw Morgan the night before.
On July 24th, 2012, there was a lot of kids at the house, as usual. My other daughter, Sierra's friends, Morgan's friends, they were all kind of around here and there.
We're all standing there, you know, laughing and giggling with my mom. And Morgan gets a private phone call. And she was like, I'm not doing anything tonight. I'm hanging out with my friends.
Morgan agrees to talk with the caller in person later.
We didn't speak anything of it for the rest of the night. It was about midnight. I hear her phone go off again. I'm guessing he's saying he's outside, because she gets up, she puts on her slippers, like it was gonna be a quick stop, you know, like a quick chat and go back inside. And we went to sleep.
Leah tells police she went to bed early, and when she got up for work, Morgan wasn't there.
I'd left the house usually around 4:30, 5 o'clock. Morgan's door was open. I got up and I looked out the window. I looked through the blinds to see if maybe they were sitting outside. They weren't out there. So I called her as I was going to work and telling her, girl, you better call me when you get up and take your butt back to the house.
Leah's phone rang a few hours later, but it wasn't Morgan. It was her other daughter, Sierra, and she sounded worried.
Mom, something's wrong. Morgan's not here. She's not answering. She's not on Facebook. Nobody can get a hold of her. Mom, something's really wrong. I know something's wrong.
So at this point, I've probably called my sister over 100 times.
I'm trying to just get through the moment and not freak out. Everybody that I can think of, I'm calling, trying to find her.
I felt sick to my stomach because Morgan, she would always reach out to somebody, so we all knew that she was safe. No matter what the situation was, Morgan was going to reach out.
My first gut feeling is like, damn it, Morgan, like, what are you doing? Where are you? Like, something is wrong.
Especially now that she's 4 months pregnant.
So for her not to respond to those phone calls or text messages, something bad had happened.
Morgan Kiana Martin was born on December 1st, 1994. She was the youngest of Leah Martin's 3 children, and although However, Morgan's trusting personality caused her family to worry once she became a teenager.
Morgan got interested in dating in a younger age. She was always so friendly with people.
I tried to explain to Morgan how everybody didn't have a good side. Everybody didn't have positive reasoning, but she loved everybody.
In 2010, Morgan became particularly interested in an older guy from the neighborhood, 24-year-old Jacoby Flowers.
Jacoby Flowers was an athlete, played semi-professional football, was socially active, at clubs, on social media.
From the way people describe Jacoby Flowers, he was a player in all senses of the word. Attractive man, drove a nice car, and typically known to be with or involved with multiple women at the same time. And Morgan, like most good girls, was attracted to the baddest of boys.
So the first time I heard about Jacoby Flowers was when my sister told one of my friends, and my friends told me about him. My first instinct as a sister is, how old? Because at this point, my sister's only 15. I actually went to Morgan with it and asked her, who is this guy? Like, you're dating someone that's way older than you? That's kind of weird. And she was like, deny, deny, deny. I'm not talking to him. It's not him. And I was like, it's the guy that drives the Lexus, isn't it? And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know, with a smile on her face, grinning about it.
Morgan kept her mother in the dark about her relationship with Jacoby for 2 years. By 2012, she couldn't keep it a secret any longer.
I went to pick up Morgan from work one evening. It was in May of 2012. She said, I really got to tell you something, Mom. I'm like, what do you need to tell me? She's like, I'm pregnant, Mom. I said, how do you know? She said, I took 6 pregnancy tests at work and 2 at Walgreens in their bathroom. I took her to the hospital that night. She told me who it was, you know, and we talked.
Her family had mixed feelings. But for Morgan, it was a dream come true.
When I found out she was pregnant, I asked her who was the dad, and she told me it was Jacoby. I told her, you know, whatever she needed, I would help her, and that I was happy for her because I don't think I've ever met anybody who wanted to be a mom more than Morgan.
A sonogram revealed Morgan was having a baby girl. She couldn't wait to tell Jacoby about her. She even had a name picked out already.
So my sister was gonna name her child Jalea Raquel. And she was so excited. And don't get me wrong, I'm excited that she was excited, but in a sense that I just hoped that everything was gonna be okay, that we were all gonna be okay.
But now, Morgan has suddenly disappeared. Her family believes she left to meet the father of her baby, Jacoby Flowers, and that something happened to her. But since it's been under 48 hours, police are reluctant to open a missing persons case.
When we made the report, they just brushed it off like she's just a runaway. We know our Morgan. She's not a runaway.
Deep down in my soul, I knew something happened to my sister. I knew there was no question.
Home in St. Petersburg, Florida. Police are waiting to see if Morgan turns up, but her loved ones are convinced something has happened to the mom-to-be. So they decide to take matters into their own hands.
Morgan's family knew that Jacoby Flowers was the last person to see her alive. And because of his age and reputation, they had already been suspicious about him from the beginning.
After Leah Martin had reported Morgan missing to St. Petersburg Police Department, she went to Jacoby's work.
Me and Ann went in and asked him, you know, where is she? Oh, I don't know, I hadn't seen her. I said, have you not talked to her or anything? No, I haven't talked to her at all.
Leah Martin doesn't believe him. She is certain her daughter met with him the night before. She knows he wasn't happy about the fact that Morgan was having his baby.
Morgan sent Jacoby a text to tell him she was pregnant, and he immediately tried to ghost her. He already had children with other women and didn't seem to be interested in having any more.
Jacoby was seeing multiple women at the same time that he was seeing Morgan. Morgan would keep texting him, Facebooking him, trying to get him to spend time with her, and he just would brush her off. Jacoby pleads with Morgan to terminate the pregnancy. Don't do this to me. He's gonna get in trouble because she's underage and he's having sex with her and now she's pregnant. He's worried about going to jail for that.
But Morgan wanted to start a family together.
Morgan didn't have a dad. Morgan had a distant father, someone that paid child support but never spoke. So her not having a father for her child would be something that she would hate.
And I said, Morgan, you don't need him for anything. We're a family, we'll take care of it. I don't know, I'd say about 2 weeks later, like he cut all ties from her. He didn't talk to her. He didn't answer phone calls. He wouldn't do anything to even acknowledge her. I figured it would come closer to an end, but not Morgan. Her persistence.
Morgan more or less thought that it would turn around, that he would be okay with it, because that's her instincts, was to trust, oh, it'll be all right. He'll come around.
But when he started denying her any access to him, then she got mad, and she'd do a whole lot of phone calls saying, oh, wait till my mom gets you for child support.
So, when Jacoby suddenly agreed to come over on the 24th, Morgan's mother was worried.
I said, do not leave this house with him. Oh, I'm not, Mom. And Mom, I'm just gonna go outside and tell him that I'm having a girl. I said, you don't need nothing to do with him. He has nothing to do with us and our family. I won't, Mom, I won't.
Now, Mother's intuition tells Leah that Jacoby did something terrible.
Finally, I went to the police station, which would have been, I think, the 27th. Went down, told him, listen, she's missing. There's something wrong. I'm telling you, he killed her.
Since it has been 48 hours since Morgan's disappearance, St. Petersburg police officially opened the missing persons case.
Since she was a juvenile, our youth services actually takes the case over.
She knew from day one that we were not making this up, that this was something serious.
She had about 300 flyers made up for me with Morgan's picture on it, you know, and everything. And, you know, we handed these out. I mean, we walked every street.
Investigators also pay a visit to Jacoby Flowers.
They responded to his home that morning. They did not find Morgan there at the home, did not find anything suspicious or out of place. He seemed very cooperative with them.
Jacoby claims he was with his girlfriend all night and never went to the house on the 24th. And despite what Morgan's family has told police, Jacoby says he can't be the father of her child because they never had a sexual relationship.
So Jacoby said that he liked Morgan, and they were flirting back and forth in their text messages, but he says they were just playing make-believe. But when she threatened to report him for something that he didn't do, that's when he attempted to cut off all communication. Jacoby's girlfriend does confirm his alibi.
Morgan's loved ones insist he's lying. But with no evidence of a crime, all detectives can do is continue the search.
Police can confirm that Morgan did receive a phone call on the evening of July 24th, around 9:03 p.m. This was a prepaid phone that was activated on July 10th, but was no longer in service. The call could have honestly come from anyone.
If Jacoby's alibi is confirmed by a witness, then who did Morgan get in the car with?
Come in, and they were followed up by law enforcement to determine whether any of them were valid. They were determined not to be anything that could be actionable. There are several occasions it was mistaken identity.
Morgan's family still thinks that Jacoby Flowers killed her because she didn't want to get rid of the baby. But there's still not enough evidence to back that up at this point.
So Morgan's loved ones begin conducting their own investigation.
A week after my sister went missing, we went to Jacoby Flowers' house. We were knocking on his door. We knew that he did something to her. We had been knocking on the door for at least 10 minutes before we decided to walk into the side door.
I was afraid when I went in the house, but I also knew my quest to find Morgan was way more than my fear.
The moment they step inside Jacoby's house, they smell something strange.
I was like, what is that? Anne said, that's ammonia. There was probably 5 to 7 bleach bottles on his counter. There were Pine Sol bottles in the sink. It was a ridiculous amount.
We didn't see anybody. We saw the rolled up carpet and blanket in the living room.
We wanted to touch it, but we didn't want to incriminate ourselves any more than what we already have because we shouldn't have been in his home.
We said hello, hello, and nobody answered. And so we're like, okay, let's go back out.
But before they can leave, Jacoby suddenly returns.
He sees us. But he's just smiling and grinning and walks up and he's like, can I help you? And the first thing out of my mouth is, where's my sister? Anne says, why do you have all these bottles everywhere? I was cleaning my car out. In my head, I'm just thinking, you're so full of I can't even see straight.
We asked him if we could look in his vehicle, see if maybe there was any blood. And he said, sure, like he had nothing to hide. But it was clean. The trunk was clean, the back seat was clean, it was all clean.
He's like, hope you find her. And that's how we ended it. I walked away.
I just know he's guilty of something. And the feeling in my stomach was even worse after that.
Morgan's sister immediately tells police about the encounter, and detectives receive some other incriminating news as well from one of Jacoby's co-workers.
One of the employees did contact police when he found out that Jacoby had been listed as a person of interest in Morgan's disappearance. He reported that he came into work on the 25th and realized that there had been a fire of some kind in the cooler.
That was the morning after Morgan vanished.
There was surveillance video on the night of July 24th, 2012. Jacoby Flowers was the closing manager. He was the last employee to leave the building that evening. On this particular night, Jacoby did not set the alarm.
Just after 1:30 a.m., the surveillance cameras capture movement in the store.
There's a specific door that you can enter into the store without being seen on videotape. You can see movement in the background. Then about 45 minutes after that, you can see on the video a large amount of smoke that takes over the inside. And that lasts for about 15 minutes, and then the smoke goes away. But you're not able to make out who's moving in there until the very last frame on that video, and we see a picture of his face.
Two of the managers identified that as being Jacoby Flowers.
We believe that the fire was started to either destroy clothing, evidence, or an attempt to burn Morgan's body.
But when investigators searched the cooler, there's no evidence Morgan's body was ever there.
Jacoby had already been fired, and when police got there, it appeared that the cooler had been cleaned out days prior.
It's enough for St. Petersburg police to change the missing persons case to a homicide investigation.
At this point, that kind of stalls out the investigation. It's hard to prove that there's been a murder when you don't have a body.
At that time, our office was assisting with the various warrants so that they could get the appropriate information and data to review.
The St. Petersburg Police Department put a lot of resources into the case to start off with, but as you're working on a cold case and then a brand new homicide comes in, and the homicide detectives would have to put the cold case aside to work on the new homicide. So it came down to resources and a lack of evidence at that point.
Months go by. Still, Morgan's family refuses to give up.
So about a year after my sister went missing, the case went cold. It was no more information, but we were still putting it out there, still putting her on social media, still letting everyone know that she was still missing. We never stopped. It was never gonna be forgotten.
2 years have passed since Morgan Martin disappeared, and her family wonders if she will ever be found. But while the case is no longer active, the investigation isn't over yet.
The St. Petersburg Police Department started a new cold case unit in 2014. And we were given a multitude of cases to look through. I picked the Morgan Martin case because of the family. It was important for me to bring the family closure.
I get a call one day at work. He's like, listen, I'd like to meet up with you. I've taken over Morgan's case, and I really, really need to meet up with you. I'm like, okay, ready.
We started reading the old reports. And then we started interviewing people, interviewing Morgan's friends, and getting a feel for how this case started and who Morgan had been hanging out with the days prior to her disappearance. We went back and started subpoenaing new records of phones that were involved. There was multiple phones used in this case. We did a lot of phone tracking. You're able to track somebody's movements that way.
The cold case detectives piece together a new timeline based on those records. It begins with the call made to Morgan's phone at 9:03 p.m. the night she disappeared.
Once they were aware of the phone number that was contacting her, they then obtained that phone number's records and was able to determine that at 12:33 a.m. on July 25th, 2012, that phone was pinging off of a tower in the vicinity of her home. After 12:33 a.m., both her phone and the phone that was used to contact her were never used again.
When police examined the data for Jacoby Flowers' personal phone, they're able to compare his movements to the one that called Morgan.
Jacoby's phone was on the entire night, and cell tower pings and tracking software can confirm that the phone traveled from Morgan Martin's neighborhood to the neighborhood of Pine Bay, where Jacoby Flowers lived.
Eventually, after about 35 minutes, they go towards the store.
Detectives already know from surveillance footage that Jacoby was in the store for 2 hours, and now they know where he went from there.
Jacoby leaves the store and travels to south side of St. Pete.
He then departed Pinellas County sometime after 3:30 a.m. on his way to Hillsborough County and then up I-75 heading north.
At that point, Jacoby shuts his phone off. We believe while his phone was off, Jacoby travels to a location that he had known about and buries Morgan's body.
When Jacoby turned his phone back on, several hours had passed, and he was in Manatee County.
Manatee County, he ends up coming through the Skyway toll, where we have video surveillance of him, pays his toll, and goes north back into the city of St. Petersburg. He travels throughout the city for several hours, ending up back at his apartment around 10:40 in the morning.
After returning home around 12:30 p.m., he contacted AT&T and had his phone number changed.
The timeline supports the theory that Jacoby killed Morgan, but investigators know they'll need more to get a conviction.
We go back out, we reprocess the store, we look for blood, we look for any type of evidence that we can find, and we took samples all throughout that little cooler to be processed for DNA. Eventually, reach out to Dr. John DeHaan, who is a arson expert, and he has the ability to test for burnt human remains. So we believed the whole time that Morgan had been burnt, her body had been burned inside the cooler. We send those samples out to Dr. DeHaan. He analyzes them, comes back and says yes.
Cold case detectives in St. Petersburg, Florida, have found convincing new evidence that Morgan Martin was killed by Jacoby Flowers, the father of her unborn child. When they go to arrest him, however, they find he's already been picked up for a different crime.
Jacoby was driving south on US 19, exceeding the speed limit when law enforcement attempted to stop him. He evaded the officer. Within 10 minutes of that chase, Jacoby reported his car stolen. When the FHP trooper responded to the St. Petersburg Police Department where Jacoby was giving that report, he identified him as the driver of the vehicle, having fled from his attempt to stop him.
The detectives working Morgan's case take the opportunity to confront him.
Downstairs, met with Jacoby and said, hey, I just want to introduce myself, and I'm the guy that's going to put you in prison for the rest of your life.
For now, Jacoby is only charged with evading arrest. He's convicted and sentenced to 1 year in prison. When he's released in 2016, homicide investigators are there waiting for him.
The day he's supposed to get out of jail, we drive out to Avon Park, let him know that he was being indicted.
But Detective Culbertson still has half of his promise left to fulfill.
The main thing that we really wanted to do is to try to locate Morgan. So the detectives asked him, hey, can you help yourself out here and just let us know where Morgan's remains are so we can recover her? And Jacoby said, what good's that going to do me? I'm already indicted.
And without a body, prosecutors know it could take years to build a strong enough case to convict Jacoby of murder.
There were well over 200 witnesses, maybe even 300 witnesses on the case due to it being circumstantial, and having to develop each of the circumstances in order for the jury to understand at a trial what had taken place.
Mr. Baird and I have other cases as well. The defense attorney has other cases. Scheduling the depositions, you can only do so many at a time.
The case drags on for over 6 years. As his trial date finally approaches, Jacoby surprises everyone.
One day we went to court, and it was just another pretrial. And then all of a sudden, the state's attorney says, we need to talk. We go back in the back room, and then they start talking plea deal.
He had two options. Option number one, you can plead guilty. You have to meet with us in the jail, and you're going to tell us where she is and give us details. If that information leads to the recovery of her body, you will get 25 years in prison. She's not where you said she was. You will get 40 years.
In my heart, I wanted to say, no way. 40 years is not enough for this man that took Morgan and took, not just Morgan, but the baby.
I kept thinking it wasn't enough for her. But my need for my child was more than my want for him to go away. I wanted her way more than I cared whatever happened to him.
On April 1st, 2022, Jacoby Flowers finally gives his account of what happened on the night almost 10 years earlier when Morgan Martin disappeared.
Jacoby Flowers said that he came to pick up my sister around 12:30 that night after he got off work. He brought her back to his home to do whatever.
So he had said that they got into an argument and that he ultimately shot her.
Jacoby doesn't say exactly what the argument was about, but the indictment alleges that he may have killed Morgan for one of two reasons. One, to ultimately terminate the pregnancy that he didn't want. And two, to get back at Morgan for threatening to report him for statutory rape if he didn't step up to the plate for the child.
He said then he wrapped her up in painter's tarp and taped it. He then put her in the back of his trunk where he took her to the restaurant and tried to burn the body. And when that didn't work, the smoke lit up the building. He cleaned up what he had to. He then walked out the back door and put her back in his trunk.
And then he drove her to Alabama where he buried her.
Morgan's loved ones hope this means they will finally be able to put her to rest. But by now, they know better than to trust anything Jacoby says.
I never thought that he would lead us to the body. I had hope, but he had this smirk on his face like, I'm getting ready.
As part of his plea agreement, Jacoby Flowers agrees to tell the court where he buried the body of his pregnant girlfriend, Morgan Martin. Under his direction, investigators travel to a field in Pike County, Alabama.
They go out to the area and search with planes equipped with ground-penetrating radar. They eventually find something that looked like human remains.
They dug, they excavated that area and couldn't find anything. I went over to the jail, I think 2 different times, and tried to get more information from him to make sure, are we in the right spot? And even had him like on a video conference, like a FaceTime, had the map up. He was directing them. No luck.
Still, Jacoby insists Morgan's body is there.
He was saying they weren't doing it right. He knew where she was, and he was telling them, and they were doing it just so he'd have to get the 40 years.
We agreed to allow him to travel to Alabama. The sheriff had to take him. He was still in custody. And it ended up being the same location they were at. They dug it and they did not recover anything.
It became apparent that Jacoby was just continuing with his same deceitfulness that he has had since the very beginning.
It was a joke to him. The whole thing was a joke. He knows where she's at, but he knew he was going to go to prison.
On April 28, 2022, a judge sentences Jacoby Flowers to 40 years in prison.
In the statement he gave in court, in his interview, never once did he mention Morgan by name. Never once did he ever acknowledge that she was pregnant with his child.
He smirked and he laughed and he blew a kiss to his family, and you don't get to do that. This is not the paparazzi. You don't get to fake it. You don't get to be happy.
I did not care what he had to say because none of it was going to be the truth. It's all lies.
I had hope that he would have been a decent enough person to provide her family with closure and telling us where Morgan was. But to see it through to the end and see that he didn't even do that, it speaks volumes to his character. And it tells you how much of a monster he really is.
The fact that he claims he didn't plan it, I don't believe that for a second. Everything we saw through messages, his actions, going to get disposable, burner phones, you're leaving the alarm off, you change your phone the next morning. All the steps showed careful planning, that he waited for this opportunity.
She wasn't a sit down and shut up type of girl. And that's what he wanted her to be. And I think he did it all for every bit of revenge, because he couldn't get his way with what he wanted to do.
Morgan Martin would have turned 28 years old in 2022. Her body has still not been found.
It really pulls on your heartstrings that someone with so much spirit and life could be taken just like that, just vanish.
I want to lay her to rest.
To be joyful and happy. And I look at her and I call her Morgan all the time, and my mom does the same thing. We celebrate her more than anything.
Name of Mac Dre. That was my friend. And I was by his side every chance that I could be. So it tore me apart not to be there when he got killed, because I felt like I was supposed to have been there.
The vehicle had over 30 bullet holes in it, some through and through. Two types of weapons were used: a larger caliber AK-47 type weapon and the .45 caliber weapon. Both very destructive.
You get this kind of sensationalized story of payback. Behind the scenes, the story is a lot more complex.
The rumor that shot through the street like a wildfire. You got justice, you got street justice.
This was the streets talking. The streets.
November 1st, 2004. At 3:30 a.m., police in Kansas City, Missouri respond to the scene of a highway shooting. When officers arrive, they find a white van crashed at the bottom of an embankment.
The driver of the vehicle was injured, but managed to get out of the van and find someone to call for help.
The vehicle had over 30 bullet holes in it, some through and through the vehicle. The windshield and all the glass was all broken out, either due to the crash or due to the bullet holes going through it. They saw one body laying outside of the vehicle. At that point, they called the homicide division, and a murder squad was dispatched to the scene. And were able to go through the pockets and attempt to identify who the subject was. They determined it was Andre Hicks.
34-year-old Andre Hicks is a popular figure in hip-hop. He raps under the name Mac Dre.
Mac Dre was an up-and-coming rap star through the West Coast and in the Kansas City area. And that's when the indication was that there could be a whole lot more to this than what we have at that point.
Andre Hicks was born on July 5th, 1970, and grew up outside Vallejo, California. He and his friends like to hang out in an area on the northern edge of the city known as the Crest.
The Crest is definitely a family-oriented neighborhood. If you hear a certain name, you knew that family. Like that family got cousins, uncles, nephews everywhere. We actually have a word that was invented in the Crest called cutty. You know what I mean? Like cousin and buddy together. So we always called each other cutties.
Like many teens in the Crest, Andre was heavily involved in the Bay Area music scene. By high school, he'd adopted the stage name Mac Dre.
Mac means the master, the art of communications, in Mac Dre terms. That was his philosophy.
Everybody didn't rap like today. Like in them times, you were special if you had the gift to rhyme words. I think it was a talent show where I first heard him rap at. I was like, man, oh yeah, he got it.
Mac Dre's talent was matched by his ambition. In 1989, when he was just 18, he released the single Too Hard for the Radio.
Back then, music was passed around through tapes. Cassette tapes. It was a hit. People liked it. So he set the bar with that. He lets you know, I'm not a radio artist, I'm an independent artist, and this is what I do.
It was just energized, energetic. When he brought it back to the neighborhood, everybody was like, man, Mac Dre is the neighborhood spokesman now.
Dre's clever, hardcore rhymes quickly earned him a following, and his friends were determined to make him a star.
We was putting all our money together.
We was trying to make sure Dre had everything he needed to get to the top, because he gonna bring us up.
By 1992, Dre had dropped 3 albums, and his fame spread along the West Coast. But his meteoric rise was grounded in March of that year.
This particular day, we was working on a song, me and Dre together. Kilo calls me like, we going today? Yeah, we going today. I'll be done in a minute. Dre hear me talking to Kilo about we finna go to Fresno. He say, I'm feeling this little chick out there I wanna go see. We met at the show. I'll stay at the hotel. Y'all go do y'all thing, come get me afterwards. All right, fine.
But it wasn't an innocent trip to Fresno for J. Diggs and Kilo.
The situation with me, Dre, and Kilo is, I robbed the banks. Kilo robbed the banks. That's what we did. Dre had nothing to do with that.
After several successful bank robberies, J. Diggs and Kilo were preparing for another one in late March of 1992.
It wasn't a plan for Dre to come, but Dre ended up coming. We were going to the stores, buying the stuff. We did everything. We usually always be prepared. We didn't know that we was under surveillance.
We in the bank parking lot, me and Kilo. I'll tell Kilo, you ready? Finna get out the car, and I see a news van. And I'm looking, I'm like, hold on, we don't see the cameras. Got dark windows on the van. So me and Kilo both like, man, something ain't right. So I'm like, you know what? We're not doing it. We never got out the car. Left the bank, went back to the hotel, picked up Dre. Took about 5 minutes for a police car finally pull up on us and pull us over. They jump out, guns, arrest us. We get charged with conspiracy to commit armed bank robbery, attempt to commit armed bank robbery.
Police reportedly offered Dre a deal to testify against his friends, but he wouldn't do it.
He refused to snitch on anyone that may have had anything to do with the bank robberies.
He just kept the G code solid all the way.
We went to trial, lost in trial, even Dre. His was conspiracy. His whole conspiracy was he knew that we were going to do it. They know that he had nothing to do with it. He stayed loyal to his crew, and he went and did 5 years at Lompoc Federal Prison for that.
And began performing again. There was no denying prison had changed him.
Prior to Dre going to jail, Dre was, he was real into the streets. But when he came home, He just got on a different vibe. And this is when he had switched his style from being so serious to having fun with his music.
Yeah, well, I'm from the Yay area, man. The car's the first thing that the bees see when you drive up, you know what I mean? You come up and you whip, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's your debut, man.
It's Mac Dre, almost Mac Dre alone, that kind of invented hyphy.
3 years later, in 1999, Dre created his own record label, Fizz Entertainment, and started signing other Bay Area artists.
Mac Dre being a natural leader and the architect of Fizz Entertainment, this big record label that, you know, had all of his friends. He was feeding a lot of people.
This is someone that becomes a pillar in the community that creates a pathway for opportunities outside of his everyday neighborhood.
He would push me, you know, to get the best out of me. Like, you know, I see your potential. It was more of a situation where my mentor became my best friend.
He had to really tell me, look, bro, we can make some money from this rap. There's other we could be doing. We don't gotta rob, we don't gotta do none of that, bro. Just pay attention.
By 2004, Mac Dre had released more than a dozen albums, and his underground popularity stretched into the Midwest.
Kansas City and the Bay Area had kind of shared a mutual affection for each other's hip-hop scenes, and their music was even stylistically similar.
Kansas City became a second home for us. And as much as they was with it, it gave us the energy to be like, you know, it took us to another level.
But now, this once promising career has come to a violent and tragic end. Mac Dre has been found dead after a drive-by shooting on the highway. And from the evidence at the scene, it looks like a targeted attack.
2 types of weapons were used, which was determined by shell casings at the scene. One was a 7.65, which would be a larger caliber AK-47 type weapon, and one was a .45 caliber weapon, both very destructive. Witnesses reported about 2:30 in the morning, the white van was traveling northbound on 71 Highway, just south of 75th Street, when a black sedan pulled up next to them and started firing rounds into the vehicle.
It looked like whoever was in that dark car really wanted to make sure Mac Dre ended up dead.
Kansas City police are investigating the murder of Bay Area rapper Mac Dre, who was killed in a highway shooting. Word of the attack spreads quickly amongst his tight-knit group of friends.
When I go down there, now the detectives and the police and everybody down there. And they're like, are you here for Andre? And you know, that kind of threw me off, because I'm like, how you know the Cuddy name? I'm like, yeah. Like, yeah, he's gone. So I'm like, gone where? To the hospital? Like, no, he's gone. I'm like, huh?
When I found out what had happened, I'm like, no, bro, you tripping. And I'm really kind of like hysterical. I'm looking for something to hit, punch. I'm just reacting to him telling me that our best friend just got killed.
As Dre's loved ones process the news, investigators speak with the driver of the van. Dre had just been involved in 2 concerts over the weekend, one on Friday and one on Sunday, Halloween night. According to the driver, he was taking Dre back to the hotel after the Halloween show when a car pulled up alongside them.
His van is ambushed by a dark-colored sedan. More than 30 bullets are fired into the side of the van from 2 separate guns. The van is also rammed by the car, as if it's trying to run it off the road. And eventually it works. The van is ran off the road, lands in a ditch. Mac Dre's body is thrown from the vehicle and lands in the mud.
The driver says he managed to pull himself from the wreckage and ran for help.
The driver fled the scene on foot to a nearby hotel where Andre Hicks's crew had been staying.
Investigators are curious to find out whether Mac Dre's entourage know of any enemies he has in Kansas City.
You know, it felt like the walls was closing. Because now it's like, you don't even know who to trust.
One of the names that surfaces during the investigation is Damon Whitmill, an up-and-coming promoter who brought Mac Dre and other performers to town.
He was very young at this and possibly not really good at what he was doing at this point. But Whitmill offered Andre Hicks $12,000 to come and perform, plus airline tickets and a hotel room while he was in Kansas City.
When police contact Damon, he explains there was originally supposed to be only one show on Friday night, but he says it didn't go well.
Mac Dre showed up at the concert 30 minutes after he was supposed to stop performing, which caused the promoter to have to rent the hall for an extra hour that night. Mac Dre was accompanied by 20-plus people in his entourage, which caused problems at the concert. Eventually, the concert had to be called off due to the unruliness of the crowd.
Damon Whitmill would later tell police that he lost $6,000 from the show being shut down early.
Damon says after the show, Dre agreed to make it up to him with another performance.
It was agreed that Halloween night, this is a Sunday, that Mac Dre would do a club appearance. And Damon Whitmill tells police that he was hopefully going to make some of his money back that he lost. But that Sunday comes about, and Mac Dre shows up late again, and he's under the impression that it's going to be just a club walkthrough, and Damon Whitmill tries to get him to perform. And Mac Dre kind of says he doesn't want to do the performance, it's just going to be a walkthrough.
So he left approximately 30 minutes after being at the Halloween party.
Because of the friction between Damon and Mac Dre, police wonder if the fledgling promoter may be connected to the murder.
In addition to Damon Whitmill losing money, I think Mac Dre embarrassed him by not showing up to the concert on time, not taking it seriously.
Despite the possible motive, investigators can't find any evidence connecting Damon or any of his associates to the crime. Given Mac Dre's popularity, they know if the case isn't solved quickly, payback violence could escalate out of control.
You got justice, you got street justice.
This is one of the most notorious murders in the history of rap music. Mac Dre was an incredibly popular rapper. His fans were calling for blood after this murder.
The Kansas City rumor mill soon offers up another suspect.
Fat Tone was the name that the streets fixated on. Everyone kind of involved thought that he might have had something to do with it.
Anthony Watkins, known as Fat Tone, is a Kansas City rapper with a violent reputation. Word is he'd had some beef with Mac Dre in the past, and he'd already been charged with first-degree murder in a previous unrelated shooting.
He would eventually be released for what police say was a lack of witness cooperation, so something happened. Can't say for sure if he did that. He was never convicted, but he had this image in Kansas City as someone, not to be messed with.
2 weeks have passed since the murder of 34-year-old rapper Mac Dre, and police believe they might have a new suspect, a Kansas City rapper known as Fat Tone.
His real name's Anthony Watkins. In the days after the killing, there were dozens of tips that said Fat Tone was seen getting in an altercation with Mac Dre at that Halloween night show.
So his name was ringing all over Kansas City. Fat Tone did it, Fat Tone did it.
On November 16th, detectives track him down.
Fat Tone gave an interview and a plausible alibi and told police that I didn't have anything to do with it.
According to Fat Tone, he and Mac Dre weren't enemies at all. They were friends.
There was a collaboration between Fat Tone and Mac Dre and another artist from 2002, 2 years before the killing. Fat Tone told detectives that he knew Mac Dre was going to be in town and that they had even smoked weed and hung out on the night Mac Dre got in.
Fat Tone says he wasn't even at the Halloween show, so the rumors of him getting into a fight with Dre couldn't be true.
When we think about the rumor mill and payback, oftentimes in the streets, is somebody's talking to somebody, and usually they're trying to find out the source. But what ends up happening is they end up muddying up other people's names, implicating folks that have nothing to do with the actual incident, and falsely accusing the wrong person.
Other associates corroborate Fat Tone's alibi.
I personally didn't believe Fat Tone did it from my investigation, but this was the streets talking. So here you had the streets convicting Fat Tone.
Kansas City police clear Fat Tone as a suspect and begin looking for new leads. But a few months later, on May 23, 2005, their fears about possible retribution for Mac Dre come true.
There were suspects that people thought of, and next thing you know, we find out those suspects are dead.
Fat Tone and his friend Cowboy are both found in a car in a cul-de-sac outside of Las Vegas, in like an unbuilt housing project.
Fat Tone was slumped in the front seat. He'd been shot over 20 times. Cowboy, whose real name was Jermaine Atkins, was outside the vehicle a few feet away. He'd been shot 13 times. From the shell casings, police determined the gun used was an AK-47.
Now, investigators have 3 murders to solve, and if they don't work quickly, there could be more to come.
If someone killed Fat Tone because they believed he shot Mac Dre, then someone else might shoot whoever killed Fat Tone. Then they've got a serious problem on their hands.
A witness tells investigators she was awakened by the sound of gunfire just after 1 a.m. And when she looked out her window, she saw a white Pontiac Sunfire fleeing the area. Police immediately put out an alert for the vehicle. They also reach out to Fat Tone's contacts and discover he was in Las Vegas to meet up with a Bay Area rapper named Andre Dow, also known as Mac Minister.
Mac Minister apparently told Fat Tone he could introduce him to Snoop Dogg and possibly get him a gig as his opening act.
So Fat Tone travels to Las Vegas with his friend Cowboy and was, excited to meet Snoop Dogg.
Police searched the MGM hotel where Fat Tone and Cowboy stayed. The rooms don't offer much in the way of evidence, but the hotel does have security cameras.
There was video footage that Mr. Dow was in the MGM hotel the night of the murders with the 2 alleged victims.
All 3 were caught on camera leaving the MGM just 80 minutes before Fat Tone and Cowboy's bodies were found.
But the allegedly promised meeting with Snoop Dogg never happened. Fat Tone's friends believe that Mac Minister made the whole thing up in order to lure Fat Tone and Cowboy to Vegas. Once again, the Kansas City rumor mill has a theory why.
Similar to Mac Dre's killing from Halloween in 2004, the streets were almost immediately talking, and Mac Minister becomes the first suspect in the Fat Tone and Cowboy slangs in Las Vegas. And it immediately becomes a situation where it seems to be retaliation for the Mac Dre killing.
Getting Bay Area rapper Mac Minister in connection with the murders of Kansas City rappers Fat Tone and Cowboy. Surveillance video shows Mac Minister leaving a Las Vegas hotel with the 2 men just before they were killed. And that's not the only thing pointing to Mac Minister's involvement in the double murder. On May 25th, 2 days after the shooting, and 500 miles away in Vallejo, California, police recover a car matching the description of the vehicle seen fleeing the crime scene.
Police discovered a white Pontiac Sunfire matching the description 2 days after Fat Tone and Cowboy were shot. It had been set on fire, but importantly, the VIN number was still intact. Registration showed that the car belonged to a 21-year-old Utah woman named Lee Danae Larson.
When investigators run a background check on Larson, they discover she's connected to Mac Minister through her boyfriend, Jason Mathis.
Mathis also goes by the name Corleone, and he turns out to be a close associate of their suspect, Mac Minister. Larson's father filed a police report accusing Mathis of forcing her into prostitution. He said Mathis would escort her to various hotels with an AK-47 under his clothes, which of course is the same weapon that was used to kill Fat Tone.
Larson's bank records show she bought ammo for Mathis's AK-47 at a local gun shop on May 14th, just 9 days before the double homicide.
The gun shop had video footage of Larson and Mathis with the AK-47 and said they had also sold Mathis a folding gun stock for the weapon. They left in the same white Pontiac Sunfire.
Police obtain a search warrant for Mathis's house, located just 2 blocks away from the spot where Fat Tone and Cowboy were killed. Inside, detectives find several more pieces of incriminating evidence.
In the garage, there was a gun cleaning kit and a magazine for an AK-47. When they test those fingerprints, they find a match for Mathis. In the house, they find a picture of Mathis holding the weapon with a child in his lap. Another photo shows Mathis with Mac Minister partying with 2 women in Vegas. These guys were clearly close friends.
Based on this evidence, on November 2nd, 2005, authorities indict Andre Mac Minister Dow and Jason Mathis on 2 counts of first-degree murder. Investigators arrest Mathis without incident, but cannot find Mac Minister.
When police arrested Mathis, he immediately hired an attorney who called Mac Minister to let him know that he was also going to be facing charges, and he needed to turn himself in. He obviously decided not to do that.
While investigators believe Lee Larson was involved, there's not enough evidence to charge her. They instead ask her to testify against the 2 men, but she refuses to talk. 2 days later, on November 4th, the case takes another tragic turn.
Lee Larson is found murdered in the street outside of her apartment building. She had been shot in the head.
Larson's neighbors say they heard the gunshots, but didn't see who did it.
Her friends had told police in the weeks before she died, she had called them and told them that she was in trouble and her car had been involved in a double homicide and that she didn't know what to do and that she needed some money.
Although there's no evidence her slang is connected to the murders in Las Vegas, investigators suspect Larson was killed to make sure she didn't testify in court.
It's widely believed that Mac Minister or Mathis was responsible for her death, kind of tying up all loose ends that could have linked them to the death of Fat Tone.
Authorities increase their efforts to locate Mac Minister in the hopes of putting an end to the bloodshed. In February 2006, he's featured on an episode of America's Most Wanted.
They've been searching for him for over 3 months at this point with no luck. Then a viewer calls in a tip to the FBI.
Las Vegas police are still searching for Andre Mac Minister Dow in connection to the shooting deaths of 2 Kansas City rappers known as Fat Tone and Cowboy. So far, Mac Minister has managed to evade capture, but on March 2nd, 2006, investigators act on a tip that he's hiding at his girlfriend's house in San Francisco.
Mac Minister was eventually arrested after somewhat of a large standoff.
extradited back to Las Vegas to face trial. Mac Minister denies any involvement in the murders of Fat Tone and Cowboy, claiming his public image and his association with both Bay Area and Kansas City rappers makes him an obvious fall guy. But as he awaits trial, Mac Minister produces an album entitled Minister of Defense, which seems to capitalize on the notoriety.
People thought some of the lyrics on the album referenced those murders, which police took as further incrimination. But Dow's lawyer insisted that he might be capable of basking in negative publicity, but he's not capable of murder.
The high-profile nature of the case makes finding a suitable jury difficult. After some delays, Mac Minister's trial begins in July 2008. The prosecution argues that Mac Minister and his co-conspirator, Jason Mathis, murdered Fat Tone and Cowboy in retaliation for the death of fellow California rapper Mac Dre in 2004.
The state's theory at trial was that Mr. Dow had lured, allegedly, the two victims to Las Vegas to a 10-day concert with Snoop Dogg, and also to help them in the music industry as a ruse to murder them.
The Clark County coroner testifies that Fat Tone and Cowboy were both shot more than a dozen times by an AK-47 assault rifle. Their bodies were destroyed by the high-powered rounds.
An AK-47 is a powerful weapon. It's a weapon of war. This was overkill. This is the kind of thing you do when you just don't want someone dead. You want payback.
A firearms expert also testifies that not all of the shell casings found at the scene came from the same weapon.
They can already prove Jason Mathis owned an AK-47, but there were casings from a second gun, too. That meant there was a second shooter. The prosecution set out to prove that shooter was Mac Minister.
The most damning piece of evidence comes from the car Fat Tone and Cowboy were driving when they were killed.
At the time, it was unclear whose car it was. When police ran the plates, it came back registered to a school teacher in California. But when investigators talked to her, she said she sold it to a student of hers. That student was Mac Minister's girlfriend.
Prosecutors detail that police lifted a fingerprint from the car after the shooting. It was a perfect match for Mac Minister.
Maybe he leaned inside and touched something at the scene. Or maybe it was there before it happened. But the fact that he's connected to that car seemed to undermine the idea that he could be innocent.
The prosecution presents video footage from the Las Vegas hotel where Fat Tone and Cowboy were staying, which shows them with Mac Minister before the shooting.
There are a bunch of people coming in and out on the night they were killed. One of them is Mac Minister, and he's with his girlfriend. They leave with Fat Tone and Cowboy around 11:30 p.m.
A key witness testifies he had a conversation with Mac Minister about the murders on December 5th, 2005 in Las Vegas, while the rapper was on the run from police.
He claimed that he ran into Mr. Dow. He said to Mr. Dow, "Why are you out in public? They're looking for you." He claimed that Mr. Dow stated something to the effect of, "I'm not worried about that, and if anyone has a problem, they'll end up missing like that woman, Miss Larson."
But the defense insists the case against Mac Minister is purely circumstantial. Prosecutors don't have physical proof he was involved in the shootings.
Mathis is the one who owned the AK-47, and he's the one whose prints were on the magazine of bullets like the ones that were used at the shooting. However, they don't have anything definitive on Dow.
The footage in the parking garage cuts out before it shows everybody getting in the same car, and Mr. Dow's position was always that he did not leave the scene with these people. There was evidence that during this time, Mr. Dow would let Fat Tone drive his vehicle while he was in town in Las Vegas. Basically, he was trying to help him in the music industry. So there was really no evidence whatsoever other than pure speculation that somehow Mr. Dow was trying to avenge the murder of Mac Dre.
Mac Minister had no reason to, he knew Dre, but he wasn't a close friend to Dre where he felt like, well, I gotta go kill Fat Tone. I could see where people would try to connect it, but that's a far reach to call that a retaliation killing for Mac Dre. Why would he do that?
After a week-long trial, Mac Minister's fate now rests in the hands of the jury. Despite the prosecution's attempts to connect him to the murders of Fat Tone and Cowboy, Mac Minister's attorneys believe his innocence is clear.
The defense told the jury there are two ways police can investigate a crime. One is to collect all of the evidence, study it, and then find a suspect that best matches it. The other is to pick a suspect, decide he's guilty, then come up with the evidence to prove it. According to him, it was clear which one of those things happened in this case.
Mac Minister, he had no motive. He had no real motive to go set up Fat Tone and kill Fat Tone. I really believe he got a bad break out of this situation.
The jury disagrees. On July 31st, 2008, they find Andre Mac Minister Dow guilty of murder. He's sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In a separate trial, his alleged co-conspirator, Jason Mathis, is also convicted and receives the same sentence.
Mac Minister currently in a Las Vegas prison, and he is appealing his arrest. He's always maintained his innocence.
I was contacted by Mr. Dow and was informed about some of the legal issues in his case. And so that is what we're challenging now. We believe that Mr. Dow is factually innocent and is actually innocent.
One of the things that made Mac Minister look so guilty was the album he produced from jail.
When we think about rappers being involved in crimes and even their lyrics being used to create a profile of them, what we have learned is that's a violation of their First Amendment rights.
In 2022, Mac Minister's conviction is thrown into doubt when one of the key witnesses for the prosecution reveals the conversation he claimed to have had with Mac Minister about the murders never happened.
He's recanted that entire statement. He's admitted he lied at trial. He was in jail in Georgia, specifically Fulton County, Georgia, on December 5th, 2005. So therefore, it was impossible that Mr. Dow could have had this conversation with him. And so this entire case is an injustice on many levels, and it's based on speculation, it's based on incomplete evidence, and really it's based now on false evidence.
Much like the Mac Dre murder and the Fat Tone rumors that followed, to me, it wasn't clear that Mac Minister actually was the person that killed Fat Tone.
While some feel Mac Minister was wrongly convicted, others believe he's right where he belongs. As for the murders of Lee Larson and Mac Dre, those cases remain unsolved.
It's terrible, because we really didn't get no answers. So we got to just go with the stories of what we hear.
This case will remain open, and it will remain open until justice for Mac Dre and his family can be had.
Mac Dre's death may be shrouded in mystery, but his legacy in rap music continues to endure.
So when we think about Mac Dre, it's his energy, it's his joy, it's his unbridled release of fun that will live on forever. That still lives on. We still getting hypey. We still going dumb.
We created this image, Mac Dre Theus Nation, his face. When people see this, they know what it is. This was all created after Dre passed to make sure that, hey, look, you know that this is our godfather of this rap game in the Bay Area.
Everything you think about is if Dre was here. If it's a bad day, it might not have been a bad day if Dre was here. If it was a good day, it might have been a better day if Dre was here.
We all became a heartbeat for Mac Dre. You know, the throwing up the T, Fizz, because that's his legacy. Fizz, he built it, you know what I'm saying, from the ground up. He had a vision for us, and that's what I try to live out for him.
안녕하세요. Nay sẽ cho mọi người thấy một chiếc váy này. Khá là đẹp nha. Ok, giờ mình sẽ bắt tay vào tông màu nó luôn nhỉ. Ê, chán quá. Ok. Sẽ hoàn thiện nốt luôn. Đấy, sắp hoàn thiện rồi. Giờ mình sẽ thôi hết nha. Đủ. Ok, mình hoàn thiện xong bức tranh này rồi. Giờ mình sẽ bye bye.